All right, Hotep family. You're tuning to the pro-black perspective on KWAZ Radio. Make sure, actually, for those of you who might not have heard, make sure you check out my, me on LA Echo Omoluwabi. I was there talking about the life and legacy of Marcus Garvey. I'm gonna send the link in the description so you can check that out afterward, or if you really that tempted, you can check it out now. But right now we're gonna read some more of the Wretched of the Earth. I think this book is actually pretty helpful, just to understand the socialist paradigm, but also understand what's going on in Africa at this moment and what was going on 50, 60 years ago and where we could build off of that. On Twitter, actually, I want to say that I left a poll, and it went something along the lines of, hold on a second. Oh, yeah. Okay. I said, you're in a company as lower management. Okay. Upper management would live high off the hog and share little with you. Politics happen and upper management is gone. As closest to upper management, you take over. Completely honestly, think of your actual jobs. What do you do, right? And so there are four options I have, which is destroy the company, replace the upper management, leave for another company, or make worker-run company, right? So what's interesting is that this is social, this is colonialism, this is neocolonialism, okay? You had upper management, all right? They're living high off the hog. That's the colonists, right? You had lower management, okay? Those are the quote-unquote native bourgeoisie, right? They're not living high off the hog, right? Politics happen, revolution happens, right? Upper management is removed, okay? Now you, being lower management, will be closest to the upper management. What do you do, right? And so the idea is, and I mean, look, if you're hearing this, don't go vote, don't go vote. You got, the whole thing is spoiled for you, right? But if you didn't vote already, don't vote, right? But the thing is this. What Africans did was they replaced upper management. That's what happened. So now they're living high off the hog on the same sort of structure that was already in place. What Fanon might be saying is make worker run company. Okay, make worker run company. That is an option, but again, we talked about the flaws of a worker run company, right? Leave for another company, right? That is another option, right? But again, it's that's just going for colonialism once again. That's just going to another colonial situation. That's kind of like emigrating to the United States or something, right? But destroy the company. That's something that's actually an option that a lot of people have not chosen as yet. Now, of course, I'm saying that now with 11 votes. Maybe you guys hear this, you're gonna go check out my Twitter and be like, let me up this so I can't say shit later. But don't do that, by the way. But but yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, if you did not want neocolonialism, the way to go would have probably been to destroy the company. But nobody really does that. You understand? Nobody's gonna do that. Or nobody thinks that far ahead. Or nobody quite understood the colonial situation. A lot of us do not understand the colonial situation. I think I have another tweet. You check out my Twitter. I say the more you learn about colonialism, the less you understand the African American struggle. And remember that we are existing in the African American struggle. Like the whole, like a lot of what we're talking about is in the context of the African American struggle. So I said, a lot of us, we don't understand the African-American struggle. And then I asked the question, is it all integrationism? At the end of the day, all we're really discussing is integrationism. Unless you go about the Garvey route, all you're really discussing is integrationism. Because this is not your nation. The example I'm thinking of, and I hope I can record it in my books later, but the example I'm thinking of is, like, let's say government is let's look at government as a parent, not your parent, a parent, right? So imagine you have a white friend for whatever reason, or you have a white associate for whatever reason. Or like, remember you were kids, right? Had a white friend. You go over to your white friend's house, and that parent, that adult, their parent, is doing a lot of stuff for you, but they don't need to, okay? That's the American government, right? What you want is you want to be with your parent. You want to be with a parent, your parent that does things for you and they're supposed to, right? Not with somebody else's parent where they're not supposed to do anything for you. And they often don't. Or they don't go the extra mile. Because that's really what it comes down to. But I'll let you guys ponder on that and pontificate on that. I'm just gonna check out, see what I can gather from. Oh, sorry, somebody just sent me something. But all right, let's go. Let's do this. Let's read this book. Page 132, and we're going to 144. So on the basis of this experience, it was explained to the people how the laws of economics function. Taking concrete examples, the accumulation of capital turned from a theory into a very real and topical mode of behavior. The people understood how one can get rich from a business and expand it. It was only then that the peasants recounted how their grocer lent them money at usurious rates. Others recalled how he had driven them from their land and how they had gone from being landowners to laborers. So the grocer, remember the example from yesterday, where the grocer kind of, because of the French, the French, let's say, I don't want to use the word quarantine, but the French embargo, I guess, right? The peasants had to engage with a local grocer who made huge profits based off of selling them things at exorbitant prices, right? So now, then after they kind of protested and fixed the rate of sale, and the grocer found a way around that by going to the black market, basically selling it illegally, claiming that he ran out of stock, and then they took over his shop, But I mean, that's just remember, you don't have any rights. You really don't have any rights. You don't. You just don't. You exist like you have you have rights. You believe that you have rights. But at the end of the day, it's like anybody could do anything they want to you. And more or less, depending on what government they're in, they can get away with it. If there's this video, of this guy, he's like a Latino man, and he just shouts at a police officer in LA, F you, and then I think spits at him, right? Now he's in a gurney or something, like he's in a stretcher, he's tied up, handcuffed to a stretcher, and he's just like, F you, spits at the guy. So he's surrounded by police officers, and you think, hey, you know what? I have a right to tell you, F you. What are you going to do about it? And the police officer just walks over and knocks the guy out with a punch while he's handcuffed to a stretcher. And it's like, what? You mean you yelled at somebody and spit at them and then they punched you in the face? Yeah. Like, you don't have any rights. You might think, hey, you know what? You can't. I got rights. You can't hit me. It's like, yeah, I can. I was looking at this video. I decided that some people don't like seeing casualty videos, so I didn't send it on the Discord. But there's this video of this, might be Australian, to be honest, but there's some soldier, possibly Australian, possibly American, right, in Afghanistan. They are just walking in the tall grass after they land, and they find this Afghan farmer, like a young boy, like 23 years old, just like out there farming, whatever. And then they, their dog, they have a dog who catches him or holds him, and he's fighting off the dog because a dog just randomly attacks him. Okay, so he's kind of trying to fight off the dog. Then the soldier walks up and says, "Do you want me to pop this cunt?" or something like that. And then he says it again. "Do you want me to pop this cunt? Do you want me to pop this cunt?" And then he shoots the guy 3 times in the head. That's it. The guy is not involved in the war. He's holding prayer beads. He was probably a Muslim. I mean, obviously a Muslim. Holding prayer beads, probably thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe my prayers will, save me or something. And maybe they would have, but they didn't. And he was shot in the head 3 times, dead. That's the world. That's the world. Yeah, so anyway, just to give you guys context, let me see if anybody's in here. Am I even live? Okay, yeah. All right, so Melanin 100%. Oh, okay, showed up. Blessings, Pro. Blessings. Thank you, Melanin 100%. Kofi says, greetings. Truth and most AAs act like they are against integration. Yeah, they act like they're against integration. But like you got to realize, look, you have to look at it, like we have to look at it from the outside looking in, okay? White boy shows up into, like white boy moves from Europe and builds a nation in America, okay? He kills off the natives, then he goes and steals a bunch of people from Africa and uses them, treats them like animals, okay? Like literal animals. Like the way how you would treat an animal, like how you treat a cow, the way how you treat a horse. They treat them like human beings like that, right? But then they also say these are not really human beings. They're just animals that have to follow laws. You know, that was their impression. Then afterward, they say, okay, we're no longer going to treat you like those kind of animals. And then black people are like, okay, cool. Can we stick around? You know? Or, hey, maybe you could give us better education. Or, hey, can you can I come into your hospital? Can I sit at your, can I go to your restaurant? Can I go to your stores? Can I go to, like what? Like everything. It's just integration. It's just trying to go into their colony that they set up for themselves. You know? Like nothing here really suggests that you want to have your own nation, your own colony. Because you don't want your own nation in America. You know, what you want is for the American nation to treat you better. And that is integration. And that's all it was. That's all it is. It's all it is. Chaka says sanctions. That's the word, definitely. I was thinking of quarantine. I don't know why, but well, maybe because that's like, maybe there's a reason I was thinking quarantine. But anyway, all right, fam. So let's keep going. So yeah, so he was talking about the worker thing. So he says the accumulation of capital turned from a theory into a very real and topical mode of behavior. The people understood how one can get rich from a business and expand it. It was only then that the peasants recounted how their grocer lent them money at usurious rates. Others recalled how he had driven them from their land and how they had gone from landowners to laborers. The more the people understand, the more vigilant they become. The more they realize, in fact, that everything depends on them and that their salvation lies in their solidarity and recognizing their interests and identifying their enemies. The people understand that wealth is not the fruit of labor, but the spoils from an organized protection racket. Yeah, exactly. The people understood that wealth is not the fruit of labor, but the spoils from an organized protection racket. Okay? That's what I was telling other people, that wealth is really about trade, and I think it was Asar Motep. So I really respect this brother Asar Motep. I think that the living scholars today, I like Asar Motep and Adirafo. A lot of you guys don't know who these two people are, but they have some really good scholarship. So definitely check them out. Like particularly when I was writing the pro-black compendium, I was like, these are like two of the best living scholars. I also put up, obviously, Ronoka Rashidi, but he passed away recently. But even so, with regards to Asar Motep, he was saying that all kingdoms, now I'm not going to say all, but like all kingdoms, he said, are based around protecting trade. Like protecting trade routes. If you really understood how like France, like the king of France, would protect the merchants that were traveling outward, so that they would find safe haven among the king of France, and then they would give the king of France something in return. The knights and all that kind of stuff would make sure that the roads were safe from bandits, away from But and that's not the king. That's not just the king of France. It's like the Zulu. It's the Yoruba. It's the whomever. Everybody is protecting the Shanghai, whatever. Everybody's protecting the trade routes. Okay. Because humans trade and governments protect trade. That's why you say the police are just, you complain kind of. You're like, the police are just there to protect private property. Well, duh, who else will? Who else will? You're like, police are not there to save my life. Yeah, probably not. Probably not, I mean, it's not that they're not there to protect your life. It's as much as, you don't realize that your life is not as threatened as it would be if you're in another area. Actually, somebody just added me on what was going on in Afghanistan. I didn't get to look at the video. Looks like somebody was being brutalized or something like that. But that's the thing, you know? That's real life. You could have hordes of people coming into your community if your defenses drop. You know? If your law enforcement and your military fail, then you can have hordes of people taking over and doing whatever they want with you or to you. You know, that's real world. Okay? That's why when Wazungu beats the, you know, African chiefs and all that, he comes and takes over. It's what happened to you in the first place. And if you don't protect yourself, yes, another people will come and take over. There are aggressive people around you. You're surrounded by aggressive people, and you have to organize for your own protection. And not just that, even if you're on the top, you still have to organize for your own protection. You know? If you think for a second, see, because you live a peaceful life, I'm assuming, right? You live a peaceful life, so you don't understand. But you know, the threat of bandits, like I said, you know, because big bandits are always in these video games. You know, bandits, rogues, thieves, all that kind of stuff. You're going through as a soldier or a mercenary or whatever, a warrior, whatever, and then you start randomly fighting bandits in the forest or something. And it's like, oh, that's a cool game thing, right? But it's not just game design, it's real life. You know? The book Garveyism, I think Garvey and Garveyism, by Amy Jacques Garvey. She talks about how people like Jamaicans used to work in, I think, Costa Rica or something, and a lot of them would be butchered on their way to work. Butchered and killed and robbed on their way to work. You know, you don't experience that because you're in this, you know, modern civilized nation, or not civilized, but this modern nation. So you might not, you know the importance of protection. But the reality is bandits, pirates, you know, thieves, murderers, terrorists, or whatever you want to call them, these things exist in the world. And so yes, these governments do. If you're not affected by these things, the governments are, in a sense, playing that role of protecting you from that. Okay? That's just something that it's like one of those things you might not see from your perspective, but it's something that's real. Where hungrier and more impoverished people will try to, or just hungrier people will try to take advantage of you if you're not protecting yourself, or if nobody's protecting you, you know? And I mean, I never listened to that guy, that speaker. His name is Polite, you know, Brother Polite. They call him Brother Polite. All right, Polite. He like, obviously he's a grifter. Obviously he's a con artist. Obviously, you know, he's whatever. But he was saying, he asked this question. He said, you know, if you're a black person, right, who are you more likely to rob, a black person or a white person? And he was like, it's gonna be a black person, because a black person is, like, black people in America are just less protected, you know? They're just less protected. And it's like, that's the mentality. And here's the thing, like, I heard about a story later of this guy, somebody comes to him, gets some, you know, inheritance from their you know, the death of one of their parents. They get like maybe like 30, 40, 50 grand or whatever. I don't know. But they give Polite this 50 grand saying, hey, help me out with X, Y, Z. And Polite just goes about his business, goes about his life. It's like, you're just unprotected. Eventually, I think they, you know, some lawyer. You said what? Yeah, eventually some lawyer does try to intervene and interfere on his behalf. But it's like, that's the world. You know, you can think that you're like if you feel like you're protected, then maybe somebody's protecting you. But the reality is that, you know, when you, like, especially the lower you go, right, the less protection you'll have. A lot of times, you know, like yeah, the less protection you're gonna have, and people are trying to exploit your lack of protectiveness. You know, like if you walk through certain neighborhoods in New York, right, and you're looking around like you're a damn tourist, right? people will take note and try to come after you. Just on that. You know, if you walking around like and you look like nobody's gonna miss you, nobody, you know, somebody will try to get you missing. You know, that's just the way of the world. I mean, I don't want to say it's a universal. I don't want to say it's a whatever. But as far as I could tell, especially when you engage in Wazungu or people westernized by Wazungu, that's what you expect. You know, the rich no longer seem respectable men, but flesh-eating beasts, jackals, and ravens who wallow in the blood of the people. Moreover, the political commissioners had to rule that nobody would work for anyone else. The land belongs to those who work it. This is a principle which, through an information campaign, has become a fundamental law of the Algerian Revolution. The peasants who employed agricultural laborers have been obliged to distribute land shares to their former employees. The peasants who employed agricultural laborers have been obliged to distribute land shares to their former employees. Okay, so again, you know, this is just a principle of that the land belongs to those who work it. Now, that's actually an interesting comment. Remember before I told you guys about the example of it was another question. It was something along the lines of who should the land go to after a revolution? And people are saying, well, just the people who work it. And I would think, most people would think, well, it should be the people who had it historically, you know? But yeah, so this is just another principle, which is, again, like if somebody wants to work more, like one of the reasons why you centralize things, or one of the reasons why you tax people, is so that they can't negotiate outside of the nation without you. You know, that is to say that I can't negotiate, like let's say Afghanistan now, right? They don't want me or you purchasing weapons from Afghanistan. Basically, America left like $83 billion worth of weapons in Afghanistan. They don't want you or me picking it up, you know? Now, of course, because we're in this different economy, this capitalist economy, technically we could, but you know, that's a big technically, you know? You'll probably end up on some sort of list if you do, but you know, it's up to you. You know, you take whatever risk or take whatever precautions you want, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so the yield per acre was thus seen to triple, despite numerous of getting fertilizer. The fellows who were able to judge and see for themselves the produce they had harvested were eager to understand how it worked. They very quickly realized that work is not a simple notion, that slavery is the opposite of work, and that work presupposes freedom, responsibility, and consciousness. Yeah, so work is the opposite. Slavery is the opposite of work. Work is something that you people do for free and freely, like with freedom and whatever. So in the regions where we were able to, that's a weird concept, honestly, but it is what it is. Maybe he's talking about like self-work or working for yourself. But in the regions where we were able to conduct these enlightening experiments, where we witnessed the edification of man through revolutionary teachings, the peasant clearly grasped the principles whereby the clearer the commitment, the better one works. We were able to convey to the masses that work is not a physical exercise or the working of certain muscles, but that one works more than one's brains and one heart than with muscles and sweat. Likewise, in liberated regions cut off from the former distribution channels, we had to modify production, which previously was geared solely towards the towns and exports. We established production for consumption by the people and the units of the National Liberation Army. We quadrupled the production of lentils and organized the making of coal. Okay, so this is actually, I'm just kind of, whatever. He says, in liberated zone, we cut off the former distribution channels and modified production, which were previously geared towards solely the towns and exports. So this is actually really important right here. Okay, this is actually important. So when you're liberating someplace, this is a kind of like the destroying the former economy. You know, so the former economy was like, you're in the rural and sold to or exported to the towns, or they're sold to the towns and for exports, as in, whatever the foreigners wanted in their countries, you know? So the foreigners, like, obviously, common sense. England shows up in Africa and says, you know what, there's a large field, this will produce a lot of, let's say, tobacco. This will produce a lot of tobacco I could sell to France, okay? Or I could sell to the English. You know, they don't go to Africa and say, hey, look, this is a large field. You know, this can produce a lot of lentils to feed these Africans here, because they don't care about the Africans there. You know, remember again, right? And this might be more unique to America and the African American experience, but remember that the Wazungu looked at Africans as animals, okay? Like how you look at a cow, okay? You use a cow, you work a cow, okay? But you don't really expect any day in the future that a cow would live among you, would be a part of your community, would vote for your representative or anything. You don't look at the cow in that way. You say, look, cow, you're gonna help me. You're like, you don't even say you help me, but you say, cow, I'm gonna use you for my benefit, for wealth. I'm gonna extract from you, right? And that's it, right? White boy does not, when he goes to Africa, he doesn't go there thinking, hey, I'm going to design an economy to help the people in Africa, right? Because why would anybody leave Europe, especially during that time, to go help people in Africa? Like why would you leave Europe to help people in Africa? If anything, you're going to leave Europe to help people in Europe. So that's what they did. So the production was geared solely toward the towns and exports. So he's saying we established production for consumption by the people and the units of the National Liberation Army. So he said instead of an economy geared towards the towns and exports, it was geared toward the consumption of the people and their National Liberation Army. Okay, so he quadrupled the production of lentils. That means they took away whatever was there before and said we're making beans or whatever, right? They organized the making of charcoal. Okay, green vegetables and charcoal were shipped from the northern regions to the south over the mountains, while the southern zone sent meat to the north. So now you're trading within. Now, of course, he's talking about Algeria, but now you're trading within Africa, right? You're trading vegetables and charcoal for meat. Okay. And you're going back and forth. Now, again, when I said about the protected trade, you have these trade routes, you have these supply routes. This is one of the things that in military, you know, in wars or whatever, this is what they attack. They attack trade routes and supply routes. So that means you protect those trade routes and supply routes. Because if you don't protect them, what happens is this. You have 10, you know, let's say you have 10 tons or whatever, or you have a week supply of meat or a week supply of green vegetables, right? And you're moving it across, you know, your weekly journey. Destroys it. Now the other side does not get their week supply, and not just that, they won't pay you for that week supply. Okay? So now your economy is down, right? The people that were attacked are dead, that had that expertise are dead. And the goods on the other side are not even being transported. They don't make it. Not just that, the enemy team might just take it. You know, so that's partly why you protect it. Now, fast forward to a modern economy or modern society, you know, you have the police who are doing the same thing. You realize that, you know, everything that goes into, let's say, Macy's, right? Or everything that goes into the grocery store is shipped there, right? So the police exist in order to protect that shipment, in order to protect that industry, that enterprise, that business. Because if they don't, anybody could just say, hey, you know what? Whatever, like all that, you know, the let's say $1 million worth of merchandise, no, $100,000 worth of merchandise going to Macy's that week, just take it and then sell it on the market. Because people still want to buy it, but you can sell it for cheaper because you just got it for free. You understand? But they don't want that. You know, and that makes sense. It's just common sense. So just adding to you guys common sense. I mean, you know, just sharing common sense with you guys. It was the FLN, Front de la Libération Nationale, who decided on the coordination and established the communication system. We did not have technicians or experts from the leading universities of the West. When the liberated zone, the daily rations reached the hitherto unheard of figure of 3,200 calories. The people were not content merely to celebrate their victory. They asked theoretical questions. For example, why did certain regions never see an orange before the War of Liberation, whereas thousands of tons were shipped abroad annually? Why had so many Algerians never seen grapes, whereas millions of grapes were dispatched from the enjoyment of Europeans? Today, the people have a very clear notion of what belongs to them. The Algerian people now know they are the sole proprietor of their country's soil and subsoil. And if some cannot understand the FNL's relentless refusal to tolerate any infringement of their ownership and its fierce determination not to accept any compromise on principles, then everyone should remember that the Algerian people are now adults, responsible and conscious. In short, the Algerian people are proprietors. So you kind of see that too. Basically, Algeria was producing oranges, Algeria was producing grapes, but they were sending the oranges and grapes to Europe. So the people in the rural areas, unless they were growing it, they never saw this stuff. But again, how do you get oranges and grapes to the rural areas? Again, that's trade. Again, that's protected trade. You know? So it's just like, and the reason why I'm just adding that is just to give you context, particularly when we're talking about nation building. We're talking about, protecting the trade between African people, right? And also directing the growth of the production of agriculture as well as, material and machine goods, so that, now you have oranges and you could distribute oranges, across whatever African nation you may have or towards other African nations, And of course, you can make finished products with oranges and grapes, such as with oranges, you could probably do fruit bowls. And with grapes, I'm guessing you could do wine or raisins, I'm not 100% sure if wine is still just made with grapes, but I think it is, I'm not an alcoholic as much as Machiavelli may say. So, all right, let's keep going. We have taken the Algerian examples to clarify our discourse, not to glorify our own people, but quite simply to demonstrate the importance. And by the way, Algeria is like 3% black.
Cap.
You said cap? Okay. No, I think it is 3% black. I don't. Let me
Not about the alcoholic.
Yeah, it's kind of late though, man. All right. But yeah, I think I looked it up the other day. So Algeria is like 3% black. So I don't know what he's talking about with our people. Algeria, let me just double check. Because it's like really, really, really not black. Let me just double check. I'm just going to look it up quickly. Ethnic groups. With a large 10%. Oh, okay, so 10% of the population during colonialism was European. But as far as today, yeah, I couldn't tell you, but it looks like it's like 3%. Like I remember looking it up earlier. 3% black. It is 99% Muslim today. Now, of course, maybe things changed since he's been there, but it's just like, what are you talking about with our people? This is not like you're a whole black man. He's a whole black man, and he's like, not to glorify our own people. Like, yeah, something wrong with you. But anyway, quite simply to demonstrate the important part of this struggle has played in achieving consciousness. Obviously, other people have achieved the same result through other methods. We are now in a better position today to know the confrontation in Algeria was inevitable. But other regions have led their people to the same result through political struggle and information campaigns by the party. In Algeria, we understood that the masses were fully prepared for the problem with which they were confronted. In an undeveloped country, experience proves that the important point is not that 300 people understand and decide, but that all understand and decide, even if it takes twice or three times as long. Now, again, you don't really need all people to understand. Okay, the 300 people understanding is good as long as they have the moral, like as long as they have the morality, that the ethics that is what it is. The issue with colonialism aspect, but also the aspect of the foreigner pocketing everything or just seeking to benefit, Europe. Said even differently. Europe benefited from colonialism, notwithstanding the fact that not everybody in Europe understood colonialism. You understand? Like, that's another way to look at it, right? What happens is that Africans could have benefited from their own type of internal colonialism, in a sense, if the people in charge were pro-Africa, were seeking to develop Africa. Now, the underpaying people is obviously a bad thing, But there's a way around that, which, he's describing in the sense of you can just give people, that kind of limited autonomy, uh, where they are growing things, but also like benefiting from the growth of their things. So I may grow, thousands of oranges. Can I eat thousands of oranges? No. Okay. But the fact that I'm coordinating with other people and I could like keep, like let's say 20 oranges a week for myself, right? Instead of thousands of oranges, I could, well, not even 20, right? But yeah, okay, 20 oranges for my family, right? A week, but I grew thousands or whatever, right? Now I can sell those thousands. I have a market that's protected. I have a whole network that's gathering these oranges for me, or what have you. I can sell them in the market, and then in turn I have some sort of currency where I can also get other things outside of that. That would have benefited Africa. That can benefit Africa today. What instead we see is that we have thousands of oranges. No, a person is not growing thousands of oranges, right? But again, they're just throwing like thousands of strands of tobacco, and then they're told, or whatever it is, seeds of plants of tobacco, whatever, right? They're growing thousands of plants of tobacco, and then they're told to sell them abroad, and Wazungu says, sure, I'll give you a penny for that, Like Wazungu just gives you nothing in return. That right there is going to screw you over like 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10. It's just a different, a totally different dynamic. Fully prepared for the problems with which they confront. Now, of course, the other way is that everybody has their own subsistence farming and does not engage in trade. So that's also a problem because you're not going to generate any sort of wealth that way. One of the things you want is that food abundance. You want to be growing food abundantly, food abundance, an abundance of food, in order that you can then trade that excess among yourselves for other things of different value. Anyway. An undeveloped country experience proves that the important point is not that 300 people understand and decide, but that all understand and decide, even if it takes twice or 3 times as long. In fact, the time taken to explain the time lost humanizing the worker will be made up in the execution. People must know where they are going and why. The politician should be aware that the future will remain bleak as long as the people's consciousness remains rudimentary, primary, and opaque. We African politicians must have very clear ideas about our people's situation, but this lucidity must remain deeply dialectical. The awakening, you hear it, dialectical. The awakening of the people as a whole will not be achieved overnight. Their rational commitment to the task of building the nation will be simple and straightforward. First of all, because the methods and channels of communication are still in development stages. Secondly, because the sense of time must no longer be that of the moment or the next harvest, but rather that of the rest of the world. And finally, because the demoralization buried deep within the mind by colonization is still very much alive. But we should be aware that victory over the pockets of least resistance, the legacy of the material and spiritual domination of the country, is requisite that no government can escape. So be aware that the victory over the pocket of least resistance, the legacy of material and spiritual domination of the country, is a requisite that no longer escape. Let us take the example of working under the colonial regime. The colonists never stopped complaining that the native was slow. Today, in certain independent countries, we hear leaders take up the same complaint. What the colonists really wanted was for the slave to be full of enthusiasm. Through a kind of demystification constituting the highest form of alienation, he sought to convince the slave that the land he was working belonged to him, and the mines where he was losing his health were his property. The colonists forgot, strangely enough, that he was getting rich on the agony of the slave. In fact, that the colonist was saying that the colonized subject was, work yourself to death, but let me get rich. Today, we should proceed differently. We must not say to the people, work yourself to death, but let the country get rich. If we want to increase the gross national income, reduce the imports of certain useless, even harmful products, improve agricultural production, and fight illiteracy, we have to conduct an information campaign. The people must understand what is at stake. So, I mean, I completely actually agree with this right here, surprisingly. But, he's saying, stop, cut down on imports, obviously, right? Cut down on imports, obviously, but also improve agricultural production, right? And fight illiteracy, These are actually things that we should be encouraging and doing, but we're not. Again, one of the things that is actually kind of frightening. So you're gonna hear me talk about this in the Garvey speech, right, in the Garvey lecture. But I mean, I don't talk about this, but I talk about this essay. But in this essay, uh, this gentleman goes to uh, Liberia, and he says, "Man, the people do not cultivate the rice. Like rice is so, it like rice is so. Liberia is so fertile for rice that rice would just randomly grow around even the capital. Like it would just grow anywhere and everywhere. It was just so like it's like it's basically like it was supposed to be a rice field. Okay, like the earth is telling you, hey, grow rice over here. Notwithstanding that, the Liberian government was importing rice from England. Okay, now fast forward to today, which is like 100 years later. The Liberian government is importing rice from England, or from America or whatever. But it's like, yeah, it's at some point it's dumb. At some point it's just dumb. And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like at some point you don't even have. I mean, like again, it's complicated. What is Liberia? Liberia was started by the American Colonization Society, the ACS. So basically, enslaved African Americans were brought to Liberia in order to just have their own government there, whatever, right? They didn't make rice. That's fine, kind of. It's not really fine. It's bad. Obviously we could do better, but it's fine, whatever. 100 years later, this is already like 60 years in, by the way. But 160 years later, you're still importing rice. Obviously it's a new government. I think the Americo-Liberians were overtaken by the natives, so I think that happened. But notwithstanding that, even with the new government, it's like you're still, hey, okay, how can we eat? Oh, well, we could just get some rice from England. We could spend an arm and a leg for rice. Like, come on. At some point, you got to say to yourself, no, no. Just grow the rice yourself. And this is the thing. This is like all over Africa. This is all over Africa, where there's no real excuse. I mean, again, yeah, there's no real excuse. There's no excuse. You could easily grow rice, like I could grow rice. But anyway, the people must understand what is at stake. Public business must be the business of the public. We arrive, therefore, at the need to increase the number of local cells among the rank and file. All too often, we are content with establishing national bodies such as the Women's Union, the Youth Movement, and the Labor Union at the top, and never outside the capital. But if we venture to investigate behind the offices in the capital, if we go through to the back room where the records are meant to be, we are aghast at the void, the emptiness, and the bluff. We need a foundation, cells that provide substance and dynamicism. The masses must be able to meet, discuss, put forward suggestions, and receive instructions. Citizens must have the opportunity to speak, to express themselves, and innovate. The meeting of the local cell or the committee meeting is a liturgical. I think this is like a Bible word. That's why I don't know it. But anyway, a liturgical act is a privileged opportunity for the individual to listen and speak. At every meeting, the brain multiplies the association of ideas, and the eye discovers a wider human panorama. So again, one of the things there's three things, in fact. I want to say three things. So one of the things that I always have been promoting is the creation of community centers, okay? Nowadays, I call it BOCO, but I've always been talking about, hey, build community centers. That's what he's describing. He's describing community centers. Marcus Garvey, everywhere he went, he built those Liberty Halls. Those are community centers where you could speak freely, so on and so forth. Later on, even though I was saying, community centers seem to be the way. That's what people do. What you realize is that the churches that white people build are community centers, right? The synagogues that white people build are community centers. The mosque that white people build are the community centers. But not just that. There's a classical Congolese proverb that tells you that if like a city, like it says, Vata de Kanda and Bongo Diafwa, okay? Vata de Kanda and Bongi Diafwa, right? Which basically means that a community without like a public forum where people can freely exchange ideas is dead. And basically it says that if you do not have a community center, your community is dead. So it's really interesting that Fanon is pointing out that, yeah, you should have local cells where people can meet and discuss and put forward suggestions and receive instructions. It really is one of the most fundamental things for any people to do. And every people do it. You know, if you want to take over a community, build a community center. You know, like build a community center. If you want to take over a community, build a community center. If you want to, yeah. So that's what you would do, and that's what everybody else has done. Now, obviously, you can't like you're not going to necessarily take over any and every community with just a community center, but it's probably like without it, you don't really like your chances are slim. So that's just I think it's pretty interesting that he would point that out that you don't want to just have a local national branch of a Congress for everybody. You don't want to just have a national big whatever. You also want a local thing. I don't see why. Whoa, I'm seeing something. These words are going to be. Let's see what he's talking about here. All right. So the high percentage of young people in the underdeveloped countries poses specific problems for the government that must be addressed lucidly. The idle and often illiterate urban youth is exposed to all kinds of disrupting influences. Youth in the underdeveloped countries is in most cases marketed entertainment from the industrialized countries. As a rule, there is some correlation between the mental and material level of society and the leisure activity it provides. In the underdeveloped countries, however, the young generation has access to entertainment devised for the youth of the capitalist countries. Detective stories, slot machines, hardcore photos, pornographic literature, R-rated films, and above all, alcohol. In the West, the family environment, school, and the relatively high standard of living of the working mass serves a kind of bulwark against the harmful effects of this entertainment. But in an African country where intellectual development is unequal, where the violent clash of two worlds has seriously shaken up the old traditions and disrupted ways of thinking, the effectivity and sensitivity of the young African are at the mercy of the aggression contained in Western culture. His family very often proves incapable of counteracting the violence with stability and homogeneity. So so basically what he's saying is these negative and immoral things that are in capitalist societies, at least it's counterbalanced kind of by higher standard of living and education and all that kind of stuff, whereas in Africa it would not be counterbalanced in the same way. Now obviously there's a little bit of a hyperbole because America has that LGBT problem, right, the alphabet problem, but it is what it is. I mean, this is just Fanon. I've noticed Fanon really tends to put down black people, but I think that's just a common thing for, scholarship of this day or whatever. Like it is what it is. In this area, the government must serve as a filter and stabilizer. The Commissioner for Youth in the undeveloped countries frequently makes one mistake. They see their role as equivalent to that of the Commissioners of Youth of the developed countries. They talk of fortifying the soul, developing the body, and encouraging talent in sports. In our opinion, they should be wary of such ideas. The youth of an undeveloped country is often an idle youth. It must first of all be occupied. This is why the Commissioner for Youth must report to the Ministry for Labor. The Ministry for Labor, which is a requirement for an underdeveloped country, works in close collaboration with the Ministry for Planning. Another requirement is an undeveloped country. The youth of Africa should not be oriented toward the stadiums, but toward the fields and the schools. The stadium is not an urban showpiece, but a rural space that is cleared, worked, and offered to the nation. The capitalist notion of sports is fundamentally different from that which should exist in an undeveloped country. The African politicians should not be concerned with producing professional sportsmen, but conscious individuals who also practice sports. If sports are not incorporated into the life of the nation, i.e., in the building of the nation, if we produce national sportsmen instead of conscious individuals, then sports will quickly be ruined by professionalism and commercialism. Sports should not be a game or entertainment for the urban bourgeoisie. Our greatest task is to constantly understand what is happening in our own country. We must not cultivate the spirit of the exceptional or look for the hero, another form of leader. We must elevate the people, expand their minds, and equip them, differentiate them. Who was upset that their country didn't win any Olympic medals or something like that, or something along those lines, and or not upset that they didn't, with like how few medals they got in the Olympics, and it's like, who cares? The athlete is not like cultivating athletes should not be a priority to any African nation, honestly. you know, let alone if your economy is not developed enough. Cultivating farmers is more important. It's not going to get you the fame, no. But like I said, regarding Liberia, I don't know how many medals Liberia won. Probably didn't win any. But if it did win any medals, it's too many if you're still importing rice from your colonizer. You're focusing on the wrong thing. You're just focusing on the wrong thing. Obviously, individuals who have this exceptional talent and they want to personally, experience that, fine, sure. Maybe even send them abroad like other countries do. But realistically speaking, this is not even, it's really not that important. And I think African people should not judge African nations for not producing these kind of athletes, because again, the athletic scene is only, it's only a compliment to the colonizer. Like the colonizer only does it for their entertainment. The black community does not benefit in America. The African American does not benefit from the basketball stars, in the larger sense. I mean, sure, the basketball star as an individual does pretty well, but that's all it is. That's all it is. So once again, we turn to the obsession that we would like to see shared by every African politician, the need to shed light on the people's efforts to rehabilitate work and rid it of its historical opacity. To be responsible in an undeveloped country is to know that everything it finally rests on educated the masses, elevating their minds and on what is all too quickly assumed to be political education. It is commonly thought with the criminal flippancy that that to politicize the masses means from time to time haranguing them with a major political head of state to speak on major current as an obligation to politicize the masses. Wait, hold on a second. It is commonly thought with criminal flippancy that to politicize the masses means from time to time haranguing them with a major political speech. It is thought, so basically he's saying, do not, that's not politicizing them. That's not politicizing the masses. Giving them speeches is not politicizing them. It is thought that for a leader or a head of state to speak on major current issues in a pedantic tone or voice is sufficient as obligation to politicize the masses. But political education means opening up the mind, awakening the mind, and introducing it to the world. It is, as Césaire said, to invent the souls of men. To politicize the masses is not and cannot be to make a political speech. It means driving home to the masses that everything depends on them. That if they stagnate, the fault is theirs. And that if we progress, they too are responsible. That there is no demiurge, no illustrious man taking responsibility for everything, but that the demiurge is the people and the magic lies in their hands and their hands alone. And again, okay, so this is actually bizarre. I want to say this because I go back to the ancient proverbs of the Congo. The Congolese will tell you that realistically speaking, the whole community depends on the leader. Like Wazungu's going to tell you the whole community depends on the people, and it's like, no, it doesn't depend on the people. It depends on the leader. I said differently, the people can get a farm that gets, like I said, produces 1,000 oranges a day, or a person could get a farm that produces 1,000 oranges a day. If that person cannot sell 1,000 oranges, right, they done effed up. What's going to allow that person to sell 1,000 oranges is for some sort of leadership to contact sellers, to contact buyers. Okay? It's going to depend on some sort of leadership. If you do not have a leadership that assists you in selling those oranges, or it's leadership that tells you, hey, don't, I can't find that many people that like oranges. So make, get 500 oranges, right? And 500 bananas or something, whatever, right? Or 500 grapes or whatever, right? If the leadership, that's what the leadership is about. It's about really looking at what's going on in the world. Individuals can look at what's in front of them. Leaders look at what's going on in the world. Okay, that's the big difference. So no, it's not in the hands of the people, because the people, you can't expect the people to know to make these connections. I mean, if they do make this, if you as an individual do make a connection, you want to communicate it to other people, but realistically speaking, you want to communicate it to another person who can also communicate it to the people, to another person. You know, it's the complicated thing, but you know, again, that's not what political education should be. Political education should not be that you're now like saying it's on the hands of the people, because it's not. It's not. It's really on the hands of the leadership, and that's why Africa needs better leadership. You know, Africa has good people already. You know, tons of good people, but bad leadership, and that's really what the issue is. You know, it doesn't matter how many like at the end of the day, you need good leadership. You know, in order to achieve such things, in order to actually embody them, we must, as we have already mentioned, decentralize to the utmost. So again, he's going backwards. It's not decentralized to the utmost, it's centralized to the utmost. But this is the socialist. And again, they can't, like, he's not going to justify it. They can't justify it. So the flow of ideas from the upper echelon, like basically this is the example, this is one of those common examples where you see something is wrong and then you think that because it has this attribution, that's the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is not this, but it is whatever. The flow of ideas from the upper echelon to the rank and file and vice versa must be an unwavering principle, not for merely formal reasons, but quite simply because adherence to this principle is the guarantee of salvation. It is forces from the rank and file which rise up to energize the leadership and permit it dialectically to make a new leap forward. Once again, we Algerians very quickly understood this, for no member of the upper echelon has been able to take precedence in any mission of salvation. It is the rank and file which fights in Algeria, and they are fully aware that without their difficulty and heroic daily struggle, the upper echelon would collapse. Just as they are aware that without the upper echelons and leadership, the rank and file would disintegrate into chaos and anarchy. See, that's what I'm saying. Without the upper echelon, the leadership, the rank and file would, without the upper echelons and leadership, the rank and file would disintegrate into chaos and anarchy. A lot of people try to like I remember one time I was talking about hierarchy or something, and someone was like, why would you even have hierarchy? And it's like, what? Because without that, the rank and file would disintegrate into chaos and anarchy. Right? The power structure draws its validity and strength solely from the existence of the people's struggle. In practice, it is the people who choose a power structure of their own free will, not the power structure that suffers the people. So again, it's just a play on words. I mean, again, people want to just to clarify, just to hammer it home. You know, yes, it's two directions. It's multi-directional. A lot of times, what happens is you face something that's one directional, and you say to yourself, okay, you know, let's go the other direction. But no, it's multi-directional. That's the truth of it. Yeah, the masses must realize that the government and the party are at their service. A people worthy of esteem, i.e., conscious of their dignity, is a people who never forget this obvious fact. During the colonial occupation, the people were told they had to sacrifice their lives for the sake of dignity. But the African people quickly realized that it was not only the occupier who threatened their dignity. The African people quickly realized their dignity and sovereignty were exact equivalents. In fact, a free people living in dignity is a sovereign people. A people living in dignity is responsible people. And there is no point demonstrating that the African people are infantile or retarded. Government and a party get the people they deserve. And in the more or less long term, a people get the government it deserves. So that's weird. You see what I'm saying? Like I tell you, man, like white people just be talking like African people are infantile or retarded, you know? But anyway, one thing I can say about this is that, you know, that's the thing, sovereignty.
Facts.
You said it's facts that African people are infantile and retarded? Is that what you said? All right. Anyway, so anyway, Kofi says, remember that he's a misogynist? Exactly. Achieve mindset says hello, right? I remember some sister used to tell me, yeah, hell is low. That was kind of silly. But yeah, no, greetings. Peace. Or hello. All right. What was I going to say? Yeah. So this is actually pretty interesting. He says a people, but that's saying autonomy, sovereignty is what you should want. Again, if you're in America, you don't get that sovereignty. You don't get that dignity. Because you're still under, you're not even really, like you're not even under colonial occupation in the real sense. Because again, these people were like, okay, you know, you're free to go. Like you're free to go as in like you were the animals we brought here. You know, obviously you're human beings, but they just treated you like animals, right? And they're like, you're free to go. And you're like, no, I think I'll stay. I'll stay, you know, hopefully, you know, like it just doesn't, like it doesn't even make any sense. But like, no, there's no dignity there because there's no sovereignty. A people worthy of esteem, conscious of their dignity, is a people who never forget the obvious fact.
Are there any sovereign Africans anywhere on the planet? I'd argue no, but
why would you argue that?
Y'all, you want to get on this tip again, but go
But
ahead.
why would you argue that there's no sovereign people elsewhere?
Are there any sovereign Africans on the planet? I think a serious argument could be made for no.
No.
I
It's not
think
that
that
there's not
it's just
sovereign. It's not that they're not sovereign. It's that their economies
which
are
which makes
are
you
are
which
borrowed.
makes which makes you what? That any
No.
intelligent
You could be
knows the
sovereign.
answer.
You could be
It makes you
sovereign
a
and have a
slave.
bad economy.
No, it makes you a slave. You're just trying to make it to where
No. You
yeah,
could,
they're your resources. If you don't control the resources, bro, you are a slave, and
yeah.
that is
The thing is that they
exactly
do control the resources.
that's a lot at first, and you sitting on here lying.
No,
Ooh,
no,
wee,
no,
you sitting on here lying like a
no.
big show.
So again, yeah, no. You would control
We
the
don't control
resources.
the resources here. They don't control the resources there. It's
No,
the
no, no,
same.
no, no.
You're trying to make it sound like, oh, well, these people is it's the same. Don't why you sitting up
No,
here?
it's not. Because you
Oh
can't
Lord
just say it's the
Jesus.
same. You can't just say it's the same.
I can prove to you
All
that
right,
it's
prove
the
it's the
same.
same. Prove it's the same.
Here you go.
Okay. What? Okay. What are you doing?
I'm pulling up the homework. Can I pull up the homework, or do you
All right,
want?
pull up the homework.
No, go ahead. Continue to talk while I do the homework.
I mean, it's gonna take you. You're right. It's gonna take me a minute. You're gonna take you a minute
Yeah,
because
yeah.
ain't no way you're gonna find any proof.
Come on,
Right.
bro.
All
Are you
right. So look,
serious?
let's
Go
go.
ahead.
So the above arguments are borne out by actual experience in certain regions. It's sometimes. Why does guy say he had a proof? Then you're like, okay, show the proof.
So you don't want the proof? You want me to be
I do
talking out
want
of
the
my
proof. Go,
neck?
give me the proof.
Would you prefer I talk out of my neck?
Out of your
Or
what?
out of my neck, or do you want the proof?
Well, do you have any proof?
Is there proof that exists? Is the question. Yes, and you know it's true. All I have to do is pull it up. You know it's
Okay.
true, bro. Them people don't control
So
their
you're saying
resources.
you don't know the proof, but you gotta look it up.
Oh Lord, I don't
Okay.
articulate. I don't memorize the proof. We can just and then you wouldn't believe it if I had it off the top of the head, anyways.
All
So
right.
we gonna scratch all that and do the homework and
All
pull it
right. Go
right
do the
up,
homework, man.
black and white.
All right, so the above arguments are borne out by actual experience in certain regions. It sometimes occurs during a meeting that a militant's answer to difficult problems is all we need to do is this voluntary shortcut, which dangerously combines simplistic syncretism and little intellectual elaboration, frequently wins the day. Every time we encounter this abdication of responsibility in a militant, it is not enough to say he is wrong. He has to be made responsible, encouraged to follow through his chain of reasoning to his conclusion, and taught to grasp the often atrocious, inhuman, and finally sterile nature of this. All you need to do is nobody has a monopoly on truth, neither the leader nor the militant, right? The search for truth in a local situation is the responsibility of the community. Some militants have a broader experience, are quicker to gather their thoughts, and in the past have succeeded in making a greater number of inferences, but they should avoid overshadowing the people, for the successful outcome of any decision depends on the conscious, coordinated commitment of the people as a whole. We are all in the same boat. Everybody will be slaughtered or tortured, and within the conscience of the independent nation, everyone will suffer the same hunger and marasmus. The collective struggle presupposes a collective responsibility from the rank and file and a collegial responsibility at the top. Yes, everyone must be involved in the struggle for the sake of the common salvation. There are no clean hands, no innocent bystanders. We are all the process of dirtying our hands in the quagmire of our soil and the terrifying void of our minds. Any bystander is a coward or a traitor. Okay, so yeah, don't be a bystander. That's a coward or a traitor. All right, so the duty of leadership is to have the masses on their side. Any commitment, however, presupposes awareness and understanding of the mission and to be accomplished. In short, a rational analysis, no matter how embryonic. The people should not be mesmerized, swayed by emotion, or confused. Only underdeveloped countries led by a revolutionary elite emanating from the people can today empower the masses to step onto the stage of history. But once again, on the condition that we vigorously and decisively reject the formation of a national bourgeoisie, a caste of privileged individuals. To politicize the masses is to make the nation in its totality a reality for every citizen. To make the experience of the nation the experience of every citizen. So somebody actually on Twitter is just going ham on Sekou Touré. Sekou Touré apparently was a brutal, he was a socialist, but he was like a brutal socialist. To the point where some women were protesting at a market and he just shot and killed a lot of them, But anyway, as President Secretary so aptly reminded us in his address to the Second Congress of African Writers, in the realm of thought, man can claim to be the brain of the world, but in reality, where every action affects spiritual and physical being, the world is still the brain of mankind, for it is here that are concentrated the totalization of power and elements of thought, the dynamic forces of development and improvement, and it is here too that energies are merged and the sum total of man's intellectual values is finally inscribed. Some individual experience is national, since it is a link in the national chain, ceases to be individual, narrow, and limited in scope, and can lead to the truth of the nation and the world. Just as every fighter clung to the nation during the period of armed struggle, so during the period of nation building, every citizen must continue in his daily purpose to embrace the nation as a whole, to embody the constantly dialectical truth of the nation, and to will here and now the triumph of man in his totality. If the building of a bridge does not enrich the consciousness of those working on it, then don't build the bridge. Wait, what is he talking about right here? Like, what? Why would building a bridge enrich your consciousness? And let the citizens continue to swim across the river or use a ferry. The bridge must not be pitchforked or foisted upon the social landscape by a deus ex machina, but on the contrary, must be the product of the citizens' brain and muscles. And there's no doubt architects and engineers, foreigners for the most part, will probably be needed, but the local party leader must see to it that the techniques seep into the desert of the citizens' brains so that the bridge in its entirety and in every detail can be integrated, redesigned, and reappropriated. The citizens must appropriate the bridge. Then and only then is everything possible. So I guess what he's saying here is that if you're going to build a bridge, your people should know how to build the bridge, you know? And if even if foreigners are involved, you should still learn it. And, you know, this was actually an example that people were pointing out that when China built this highway in Jamaica, because they just pointed out to me recently, they built this highway in Jamaica, but the Chinese engineers did it. And the Jamaican engineers were told, nah, we don't really trust you. We don't really think you have the skills to do this. And so what Fanon is pretty much saying is that if, like in that kind of circumstance, you reject the bridge. You say, you know what, we don't need the bridge. We don't need your highway. You know, unless our people get something, then no. You know, and actually I know this brother, he was, you know, here in America, he built this like engineering firm or something. And no, I think he was working for something else. He was working like in some nice engineering job. And he was telling something that every black person in America, well, a lot of black people in America will tell you, right? And that is that you, at some point, you're called to train some white boy, okay? And when you're training this white boy, you know he's finna replace you at the job, you know? And that's what it is. It's like, sure, you have this skill, sure, you have this talent. Now we're telling you to give that skill and talent to some white boy and then go look for a job elsewhere. You know? But that's how white people are supposed to treat you. They're supposed to treat you like, hey, you know what? If, like, at the end of the day, I'm going to benefit my own people, you know, because it's my country, you know? And so that's what I want to do. And so what you have to, you know, extrapolate from that is that when you're in Africa, you seek to benefit your own people. You know, so even if you have these foreigners, you say, okay, you're just here to show me this thing. I'll give you a little bit of pay for the lesson, right? But really, it's for me and my people, you know? And that's let's go. A government that proclaims itself national must take responsibility for the entire nation, and in undeveloped countries, the youth represent one of the most important sectors. The consciousness of the younger generation must be elevated and enlightened. It is this younger generation that will compose the national army. If they have been adequately informed, if the national youth movement has done its work of integrating the youth into the nation, then the mistakes that have compromised, even undermined the future of the Latin American republics will have been avoided. The army is never a school for war, but a school for civics, a school for politics. The soldier is a mature nation, is not a mercenary, but a citizen who defends the nation by the use of arms. This is why it is paramount that the soldier knows he's at the service of his country and not of an officer, however illustrious he may be. Military and civilian national service must be used to raise the level of national consciousness to tribalize and unify. In an undeveloped country, the mobilization of men and women should be undertaken as quickly as possible. The undeveloped country must take precautions not to perpetuate feudal traditions that give priority to men over women. Women shall be given equal importance to men, not in the articles of the Constitution, but in daily life, at the factory, in the schools, and in the assemblies. If the countries of the West station their soldiers in barracks, this does not mean this is the best solution. We are not obliged to militarize recruits. National service can be civilian or military. In any case, every able-bodied citizen should be able to join his fighting unit at a moment's notice to defend the freedom of the nation and its civil liberties. So again, so Fanon is here talking about women soldiers, and you know, of course he then says, well, you don't need to set them in barracks or whatever. But you know, it has its merits, obviously. He's talking about detribalizing and unifying the military, which is also good. He's talking about how it's actually pretty interesting that he's talking about the army and the military and focusing on how the younger generation is going to compose the national army. Not people old like me, but younger people will compose. And he's saying instead of it just being a school for war, it should be a school for civics, a school for politics, you know, not just destroying places, but building them. We saw what happened with America and Afghanistan. It's been in Afghanistan for 20 years. Finally, Biden takes them out and says, we're not nation builders. You know what I mean?
That's not true.
What's not true? We're not nation builders?
Hold on, let me pull it up.
Shout out to them Taliban boys putting in that work.
Let me pull up the information real quick. Let me do my homework.
Oh, you just a dick. Sorry, I shouldn't curse. Well, this guy, he just. Wait, are you serious? Are you really gonna pull out? What did I say that was wrong? I don't get it. I
just wanted to jump in to say that.
Hey, you know, you gotta come correct. You know,
PC, you gotta get your evidence, man. Stop with your
don't worry, I didn't put it up. I didn't uploaded it, but you sped past it.
Oh, you put it up? I didn't see. Where'd you put it?
Ben put it up.
Where'd you put it?
In the cloud.
In the cloud. Wait, what was it? Current events? What was it?
Don't mess with this Discord like that. Let me see.
So where'd you put it up? I don't understand.
I'm trying to see, bro.
I told you the cloud.
I hate you, bro.
He's like, I put it up. And he was like, wait, what? Like I'm ignoring it or something. Like
I guess I didn't do it. Let me hold on. I don't know. Let me get it. Let me. I'm gonna just email it to you.
You gonna email it? Why you email it to me? Just put it on Discord.
No. I mess with Discord like that. I'm elderly.
But you're on here right now.
I know, right?
I know. I barely. It took me years to figure this out.
How would it take you years when Discord is young? Still, man.
Come on, bro. That's an over exaggeration, bro. You know what it is.
All right, man. Yeah.
Let me do my homework.
Right? Yeah, let me do my homework.
Look at the cooning.
What is your evidence, my guy? What is it, though? Can you tell me?
I got 50 articles I'm looking dead at.
50 articles? You gonna email me 50 articles?
Come on, bro.
All right.
It's not 50, bro.
Whole bibliography.
Yo, this dude wild, man. He says years, and you're like, years, and he's like, it's an exaggeration.
I see.
50 articles. 50 articles? It's an exaggeration.
We got the literals over here. You can't understand nothing unless it's exactly spelled out.
I'm trying not to culturally appropriate the exaggerative language of African Americans. Okay,
PC should know. We through.
Exactly. I'm trying not to. I'm not trying to.
You heard Fanon
culturally appropriate. You know,
Fanon
that's all.
Said retarded and reduced intelligence. I'm just saying he put it out there on y'all. So I mean,
damn.
he put it out there. He put the beers in the street.
He did. I ain't gonna cap. I ain't gonna lie. All right. You send me that. Wait, let me see. You said you sent it to my email, but you know my email address.
Oh, I've been did the homework on you, bro. Come on now.
Okay. Which email address are you using though?
Bro, I can't put your biz out here. You'll see it.
Bro.
Dang, what kind of secret email address I got? Yeah.
You'll see it. It'll get at you. When it get at you.
All right, bet. This dude doing homework on me. Gotcha. All right. So Mchaka says we through. You know, he knows it. Melon 100% gives the prayer hands up. All right. So the major public works projects of national interest should be carried out by the recruits. This is a highly effective way of stimulating stagnant regions and getting the greatest number of citizens to learn of the country's realities. We should avoid transforming the army into an autonomous body that sooner or later, idle and aimless, will go into politics and threaten the authorities. Now, again, I showed you guys last week, Sunday, Buhari's record is that of being in the military for like 20 years, you know, military training. Actually, leading a coup in Nigeria, no less, but probably, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was actually like
He was head of like the military regime at one point. Like
Yeah,
the
he was head of
80s,
the
I
military
think.
regime, and then
And it's
he's-
crazy that they elected him again because they said he changed. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's like you know,
They top of the IQ curve, aren't they? Mm-hmm.
Do your homework, bro.
but for African people, probably that's what they. I mean, look, that's what they tell us, you know.
The behavior.
I'm not gonna. I'm not. I mean, I usually would.
The behavior speaks for itself.
You said what? Behavior?
Behavior speaks for itself.
Well, the thing is this: if you look at Nigeria, realistically speaking, it's split into 3 major ethnic groups. And so, what happened with Buhari was that his ethnic group is larger in Nigeria, and they kind of. And what happened was that the election was kind of based off of, you know, who was a part of what group, and like the example,
And there's always corruption in these elections as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Tupac and Biggie were squabbling, you know? Like all of us on the East Coast, more or less.
It's definitely not like that, but okay.
No, I'm just saying, like all of us on the East Coast are more or less Biggie. You know what I mean? Like you weren't really trying to be about Tupac. I mean, I had a friend who liked Tupac, but that was like way after like the 2 of them were already killed. You know what I mean? Like during that time, it was kind of like we were throwing up signs. You know what I mean?
Even now, like most of the old heads from like East Coast, I know they always pick up like Biggie.
Yeah, we were throwing up signs, man. We were throwing up signs. We were willing to fight. You know,
like real tribal. I see.
Yeah, when Tupac said anybody from New York want to bring it, I was like, what? All right, you know.
You ain't got your army fatigues.
You know what I'm saying? Put on my. I checked to see if he had pumped up kicks. You know what I'm saying? That's a white boy reference. All right. Anyway, white people had a song. It was pretty funny. They had a song about school shootings.
Pumped up kicks.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. How they had a song about school shootings? Like that's crazy. Anyway,
yeah, them boys wild.
They wild with that. Anyway, I didn't believe it at first. So I had a brother who told me, "Nah, that song's about school shooting," and I was like, "What? Nah, holy shit!" You know, like they really singing about school shootings. All right, we should avoid transforming the army into an autonomous body. As sooner or later, idle and aimless will go into teams of pronunciamentos. The only way of avoiding this is to politicize the army, nationalize it, i.e. nationalize it. So, so he says nationalize the army, politicize it. You know, you don't want the army being an autonomous body. You don't want it acting outside of politics, and you don't want it taking over in the political arena. And I mean, look, and again, you can't really, I do want to just clarify for PC's sake that you don't want to deny, like, again, like, I think the situation of the military taking over the government is obviously bad, right? But it's like, you want to have your, like, it's good to have your own government. You know what I mean? And that's really like what I was hinting at before about the sovereignty, about the dignity of sovereignty. It's like, you know, to be governed by another people, that's what colonization was, right? But to be governed by another people is much worse than to govern yourself poorly, you know? But of course, you know, you could always get some benefit from being governed by another people, you know? So it's not like a lose, right? But it's like, yeah, you're still governed by another people, you know? And that in itself is kind of like that's what a lot of people wanted to throw off, you know, and not have for themselves, you know? I remember inside of because you know I'm in America, I occasionally there'd be like I think maybe once or twice I went to like a Khalid Muhammad birthday celebration or whatever, and I'd go to the new Black Panther party. They have like a division. They set up their birthday party for him or whatever, and their chairman was this guy who's like a lawyer or something, and he's like, his motto was Black laws for Black people, you know. And I thought that was nice, but I realized it's probably not going to happen in America. But that's exactly what sovereignty is. It's like the issue is that we are following white laws when we're in America, you know? And I mean, not all their laws are bad, obviously, you know, like not running through red lights is not a bad law, you know, or, you know, getting time for, you know, murdering somebody is not a bad law. But the reality is that if other people are writing your laws, that's a problem, you know? And sure, you don't want some military to take over your government and, write the laws for you. That's also not good. But it's better when it's your own people or when you have the potential or the possibility to write your own laws. That's the main thing here. Obviously. Oh yeah, by the way, PC, make sure you check out that Garvey lecture later, okay?
Yeah, I saw that email, bet.
You saw that email, yeah. What's his name? Cause the sister tried it. She tried to do that. Why didn't Garveyism work? Oh, yeah, I should make her voice bad. She's a nice sister.
What about black on black crime?
Exactly. What about black? Okay, Tariq. Anyway, but she was like, why didn't Garveyism pop off in Jamaica?
It's fact though.
And so I had to address that.
I'm gonna see that. Here it comes. I'm glad you told me about that.
I was ready. Cause see, I was actually on a program a long time ago. It was not a recorded program where the person was going in on Jamaica couldn't handle anything because they always bleaching their skin and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So then I was like, no, if you look at the record, if you look at what Garvey said himself, it wasn't going to work without him. It wasn't going to work without him. Like basically what happened was that when he came and he set up a chapter in New York, the Democratic Party took over the chapter, and so then they begged him to come back and become the president to stop the Democratic Party. But like if he had just left it alone, it would have been where the Democrats met up, people. And that's what he wrote in his book. So it's like, what do you mean? You got to realize that the Democrats and Republicans are no joke, and I point that out. I point that in the thing. Like, cause when I did the Freedom Party, I told you guys I did the Freedom Party. They legit sabotaged that party, that thing, So it's not like the Democrats are just like the Democrats don't just sit back and let power slip from their hands. You know what I mean? And if y'all know what's going on in New York, these Democrats got power. You know what I'm saying? They can do whatever they want. But anyway,
Cuomo.
Yeah, is it Cuomo? Isn't it? No, De Blasio. That's why. But anyway, they only Cuomo could do whatever he wants for sure. Cuomo can just kiss you on the face, kiss you on the lips if he wants for some reason. You said what? You said what? I don't know, but yeah, Cuomo. I mean, the only person that can do more than Cuomo is Trump. But Trump is also a New Yorker, so you already know. Like anybody.
Birds of a feather.
Yeah, exactly. Shit. Well, no, wait, pause. I mean, I'm in New York too. All right. So the only way to avoid this is to politicize the army, i.e., nationalize it. Likewise, there's an urgent need to strengthen the militia. In the event of war, it's the entire nation which fights or works. There should be no professional soldiers, and the number of career officers should be kept to a minimum. See, again, this is like, oh my gosh. You see, this is why I tell you about these socialists, man. So, like, this is one of the things that I definitely decided to, like, early in the Book of Power, I tell you, professional soldiers, okay, career officers are the sorry, not the curse, but this is extreme. Are the difference. Exactly. Are the difference between, like, they're the reasons why we don't have black power like that anymore. Because I can't remember, what was the name of the people? I don't remember the name of them. I don't want to say Syria. No, the Assyrians. Yeah, the Assyrians had the largest standing army on the planet at that time. And they were the ones that took over Kemet. Okay? You got to realize that America, one of the reasons why America is so strong, even though it lost in Afghanistan, right? But one of the reasons why they are so strong is because they have a huge standing army. One of the reasons why China is so strong is because it has a huge standing army. If China didn't have a standing army, okay? If China said, hey, we don't have any professional soldiers, we don't have any career officers, then America would just say, yeah, okay, I'll take over everything you got. Give me everything you got. You're going to just recruit a bunch of people right after I do it? Give me everything you got. And that's what it is. It's like having a standing army. It's just like the gangsters, like the gangsters in Brooklyn or whatever, right? Or the gangsters in New York or the gangsters in whatever urban metropolis area you want to talk about, right? They have standing soldiers, so that like I remember like one time, I was actually harassed by some kids, and they were like their older siblings were gangbangers, so they had like extra confidence, they tried to mug me one time. But, I'm like solid as a rock. So I did, unfortunately, get sucker punched. But then
That's one way to call it.
We all kind of start off pretty dumb. So for some reason, I thought this one day, and this is like the only day I got harassed for some reason, but some reason I thought it would be nice to walk with like a pocket full of change, something dumb, just going to high school with a pocket full of change, like a whole bunch of coins.
Quarters.
Yeah, you said poor stuff? What did you say? Anyway, it's just dumb though. It's just dumb.
Quarters.
Yeah, quarters and pennies and nickels and dimes. Yeah, exactly. Like they know that I'm just walking around with a bunch of coins. I don't know why. But this one day, but you walking, and so now you kind of conscious of, like, you walking and jingling, the jingling baby, right? You walking and jingling, like ching, 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 while you walking, right? And so you're kind of conscious that, because you're walking through gang territory to get to school, right? And then you're kind of a little bit more afraid or whatever. You see a group of kids. Now, they're just kids, but, you're in high school, so you're a kid too, right? So they're probably like middle school, I'm high school, right? Like high school junior, like high school freshman, right? And they're like junior high school. But they're like junior high school gang.
So the age difference is not that much.
Yeah, it's not that much, but it's still like they're kids, but it's not that much, right? And they're like gangbangers, right? So, or like they're relatives of gangbangers. But the point is that I'm walking, I see them, I kind of like cross the street. That kind of makes me a target already, right? I'm crossing the street away from my school, kind of, but they kind of follow me across the street. Long story short, I'm walking to them, and they're like, hey, like, trying to get some money from me or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have any money. Well, of course, the pocket is ching, right? Some dumb stuff, right? Anyway, I'm just walking by, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't need to stop. I don't need to talk to you. Who cares? One of them, like the small, like there's three of them, right? The shortest one, right, who was like the roughest and toughest one, the spokesman, right? Because his brother is like legit, like of an official gang,
He got rank.
Yeah, right. He decides to like just punch me in the face without me like my back is turned, and he just gives me a solid punch, right? Cheap shot. But of course, like I barely phase because it's still a kid, right? And I actually at the time I was a pretty strong guy, notwithstanding, right? So I turn around to look at him, right? His friends back up, but he's like gone, and then I just walk on my way. Now I go into school and I tell them about what happened, and one of the kids who's more informed about the area, I think he actually might have been Afghani or Pakistani or something like that, but like an Arab guy. But he was like, it's a good thing you didn't hit that kid.
Oh, he owned a bodega?
Right, probably did, right? But it's a good thing you didn't hit that kid because, like his brother would have done, whatever. And like, at the time, like, I don't really care. Like, what are you talking about? Please, I would have hit him if I caught him, like if I saw him. But like, if you really think about it, right? If you are a gang banger and somebody attacks your brother or harms your brother or beats up your brother, right? And you know where they at, of course you coming after them. But the reason why you said what?
It's off GP.
Is that Creole? Like, what did you say?
No, I said just off GP, general principle.
Oh, it was just South PC. I'm like, what? I don't know. I don't know Creole. Anyway, but yeah, like just off of general principle, it's like I mean, because like you might not do so. Like if somebody attack your brother and you don't have a standing army, you might not necessarily do so. You might not. But if you are, like this guy was like a leader of a major gang in America, one of the two major gangs, you get what I'm saying? He's a leader in one of the local leagues. And if I'm just like a random student and I punch his brother in the face, and then he complains to his brother like, blah, 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 even though he was in the middle of robbery, maybe he might, show his brother something, but of course he's going to show me something. No brainer.
Who's to say he's not going to lie to his brother? Say, you attacked him.
Exactly. I mean, why not? And of course he's gonna have his boys with him who are gonna verify a story. But like regardless, you can't, because like even imagine this. Even if he says, okay, that's nothing, and then somebody else says, man, you weak. You let some random high school kid.
Exactly. Especially when you do it with the other ones, you gotta do something just because.
Just because. Now, luckily, I mean not luckily. I mean I really would have hit that kid if I saw him, because it was like who punches somebody in the face randomly. But the kid just had.
He did.
right? It was messed, but it was like real talk. It probably would have knocked out some other guy, you know. But like even being like it was like I used to be a strong guy once upon a time. I know you don't believe
Until
it.
you had that mac and cheese, though.
Yeah, this dude, man, you a hater, man. I need to. I'm gonna get rid of that thumbnail. All right, let's see what I can do about that thumbnail. All right, there should be no professional, but yeah. So the no professional soldiers, that's a dumb thing. That's a dumb suggestion. You're gonna be taken over like just on principle. You know, just on principle. You're gonna be taken over. You know, career officers should be kept to a minimum. First of all, because very often the officers are selected from university graduates who would be much more useful elsewhere. And no, there's nothing more useful than protecting your community, but you know, whatever. An engineer is 1,000 times more indispensable to the nation than an officer. Again, not really, you know, because again, if you can't protect the nation, then, I mean, look, an engineer is important, obviously, right? But if you build something and you can't, it's like what happened in Afghanistan, okay? As soon as the soldiers gave up, all the people lost. Okay? There are women there who are like, I don't know if I'm going to live. You know, maybe they will, maybe they won't.
You'll be all right.
Maybe.
Nah.
No. Look, a lot of people are not going to be all right. You know, obviously.
Nah, yeah.
But that's what I said.
That's why they were trying to run on that plane.
Yeah, exactly. I said war determines, it's not about who's right, but who's left. As soon as the soldiers give up, as soon as the American soldiers withdraw, and everything is gone. The government is gone. The waterworks is gone. That this is, you know.
Now it's like anarchy, free for all.
Well, it's now the Taliban running.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily anarchy, but now the Taliban got everything. So there's a video, I was supposed to put it in funny, of these people just like driving around in go-karts, you know? You know, but it's like, that's what happens. You know, your playground is gone. You know? If America doesn't have its soldiers and Russia still had its soldiers or China has its soldiers, then yeah, you know, you're going to just show up to the bank and you're going to be, you know, like you might still have to speak, you might still get a chance to speak English, but that's about it. You know? It's like, how many yuan do you want? You're like, what do you mean yuan? I don't want no damn yuan. Give me $1. You know? Nah, you get is it yuan? I don't know, man.
I'm pretty sure it's yuan.
Yo, you and these Chinese, yo,
I'm pretty sure it's yuan.
Yo, I think the Chinese got you, man. Like, cause I was saying Genghis Khan, and you like, no, it's Genghis Khan. Now it's not yuan, it's yuan, man. Like, bruh, nobody, sure they did not colonize us just yet, man. Shit. When they colonize us, believe me, I'm gonna be Han Chang Wan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be on it. You know what I'm saying? Ni hao. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? No Hotep, ni hao. That's it. But like, until then, man. I'll say it to their face. No, I'm joking. I'll be ni hao.
And bowing at the same time.
Exactly. Shit, I'll be kissing the floor, man. Please. Nah, just messing. All right. So you said the engineers downtimes more indispensable. So yeah, like you could have all these engineers. Like a lot of people that leave in Afghanistan right now might have been engineers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously not, but still, like. It don't matter. You have to have that standing army. You have to have it developed. Because that was the whole basis of this quote-unquote effort in Afghanistan, was to have this military prepared to use that $83 billion equipment against the Taliban. But
and that's democracy, whatever that means.
Exactly. But like the most important thing is that you have that standing army, because once you don't have that standing army, you get taken over by people who have standing armies, which would be the Taliban in this case. You know?
It didn't work as well because you had people in the army that were sympathizers for the Taliban too, so it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, look, it could have worked, but it didn't. Exactly. Like that's the thing. It could have worked, but it didn't. You know? Yeah. And that's like, because, you know, you're always going to have sympathizers. You know? Like, sure, everybody and their mama came out for Afghanistan now. You know? I mean, for Taliban now. All of a sudden. It was weird. It was weird to see that, you know?
For real, bro.
Matter of fact, people just said that.
I thought they were done. I didn't know they existed anymore.
I know, right? Yeah, they're like, yo, the Taliban just came out of nowhere, man. As soon as, you know, sure, I ain't gonna say nothing. But anyway, but yeah. So engineers 1,000 times more indispensable. So no, it's not. Don't believe this. This, like, when the socialist comes around and tells you, yeah, we don't need soldiers. Like, shut up, you from Russia. You know, you want Russia to conquer us, or you want America to conquer us. You know, like, come on. Yeah. An engineer is 1,000 times more indispensable. Blah blah blah. And secondly, because any hint of caste consciousness should be eliminated. Right? Okay. And no, you want soldiers. You want soldiers. Believe me, you want soldiers. We have. I mean, I won't be able to provide evidence like your man's, but
Oh, you didn't do your homework?
exactly. I didn't do my homework just yet, but I gotta look at this guy. Probably got some. I don't know. I'm trying to look at my email address right now.
Sputnik News.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he goes, "Show me Sputnik News, man." Yo, what a way, man. Dang, yo. Oh wait, hold on a second. I opened one of my other email addresses to see if he sent it that way, and there's like some news story that says spokesman Taliban to honor women's rights within Islamic law. Yeah, Taliban.
So nothing. Is that like Onion News?
Exactly right. Yo, the whole thing is we remain skeptical, but it's like that's the world, man. Like what? Like I told you, it's not about who is right, but who is left. Oh, your man PC is gone. But anyway, it's not about who is right, but who is left. You know, what's left is the Taliban, and that's it. Damn, this stupid thing, man. Ah, dang, I didn't even have my password on this thing. All right, I can't even look at this mail, so I can't even verify or cross-verify, but it is different. All the same. All right, let's go. We have seen in the preceding pages how nationalism, that magnificent hymn, which roused the masses against the oppressor, disintegrates into the aftermath of independence. Nationalism is not a political doctrine, it's not a program. If we really want to safeguard our country from regression, paralysis, or collapse, we must rapidly switch from a national consciousness to a social and political consciousness. The nation can only come into being in a program elaborated by revolutionary leadership and enthusiastically and lucidly appropriated by the masses. The national effort must be constantly situated in the general context of the underdeveloped countries, the front line against hunger and darkness, in the front line against poverty and stunted consciousness must be present in the minds and muscles of the men and women. The work of the masses, their determination to conquer the scourges that for centuries have excluded them from the history of the human mind, must be connected to the work and determination of all the underdeveloped peoples. There is a kind of collective endeavor, a common destiny among the underdeveloped masses. The people of the third world are not interested in news about King Baudouin's wedding or the affairs of the Italian bourgeoisie. What we want to hear are case histories in Argentina or Burma about the fight against illiteracy or the dictatorial behavior of their leaders. This is the material that inspires us, educates us, and greatly increases our effectiveness. As we have seen, a government needs a program if it really wants to liberate the people politically and socially. Not only an economic program, but also a policy of the distribution of wealth and social relations. In fact, there must be a concept of man, a concept about the future of mankind, which means that no sermon, no complicity with the former occupier can replace a program. The people, at first unenlightened and then increasingly lucid, will vehemently demand such a program. The Africans in the undeveloped countries, contrary to what is commonly believed, are quick to build a social and political consciousness. The danger is that very often they reach the stage of social consciousness before reaching the national phase. In this case, the undeveloped countries' violent calls for social justice are combined, paradoxically enough, with an often primitive tribalism. The undeveloped people behave like a starving population, which means that the days of those who treat Africa as their playground are strictly numbered. In other words, their power cannot last forever. A bourgeoisie that has only nationalism to free the people fails in its mission and inevitably gets tangled up in a series of trials and tribulations. If nationalism is not explained, enriched, and deepened, if it does not very quickly turn into the social and political consciousness, into humanism, then it leads to a dead end. A bourgeois leadership of the undeveloped countries confines the national consciousness to a sterile formalism. Only the massive commitment by men and women to judicious and productive tasks gives form and substance to this consciousness. It is then that flags and government buildings ceases to be the symbol of the nation. The nation deserts the false glitter of the capital and takes refuge in the interior where it receives life and energy. The living expression of the nation is the collective consciousness and motion of the entire people. It is the enlightened and the coherent praxis of the men and women. The collective forging of a destiny implies undertaking responsibilities at a truly historical scale. Otherwise, there's anarchy, repression, the emergence of tribalized parties, and federalism, etc. If the national government wants to be national, it must govern by the people and for the people, for the disinherited and for the disinherited. And by the disinherited, no leader, whatever his words, can replace the will of the people or the national government before concerning itself with the international prestige, must first restore dignity to all citizens, furnish their minds, fill their eyes with human things, and develop a human landscape for the sake of its enlightened and sovereign inhabitants. So that's actually page 144, and that's actually the conclusion. What can I say about this? This is a long, like he tends to do that. I realize that he tends to give you that last paragraph that kind of is pretty good, or relatively better than the rest of everything. But it's also, yeah, it's just kind of long and, yeah. So, damn, it was like 3 pages for this one paragraph. What can I say about this? Nationalism is not a political doctrine. So basically he's saying, have a program. That's what I was telling you guys yesterday, on Sunday about Pilo Lumumba. Like, you have all these good words, but you need a program, right? His program involves political and economic consciousness, absolutely. But again, there's flaws here too. This whole idea of no standing army or engineers are worth more than soldiers, that's not true. So make sure you guys don't, when you're communicating with people in your own so on and so forth, you remember that, just like he says, use the examples of other people. The example of Afghanistan is that you have engineers and you have this and you have that, but you don't have strong soldiers. And because you don't have strong soldiers, because you don't have a good military, you're going to collapse immediately. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. It doesn't matter how many things you've had. Like you had cars, you had planes, you had go-karts, you had amusement parks, you had fitness gyms. There's like a video of the Taliban just playing around in the fitness gym, doing running on a machine and all that kind of stuff. You have all this stuff, but it's not going to do anything if you don't have a military. It's just going to go to the enemy if you don't have a military. Like I said, you want to play. Like I play these RPGs, I play these video games, And the whole premise of the video game is that these RPGs, role-playing games, is that you as a series of adventurers or mercenaries go out into the world, right? And slaughter things and steal from them. Like some kobolds or gnomes or orcs or whatever are just chilling in their village, right? And then you walk into their village or their cave or their community and kill them and then take their stuff. And you get stronger and more powerful and eventually you go after the freaking dragon or whatever. Whatever it is, but you're basically fighting their army. Or basically they don't have an army strong enough to take on your group of mercenaries. And that's your whole video game experience. But where you that's like if you do not have an army, if the orcs don't just say, hey, you know what, there's 5,000 of us, stop what the fuck you're doing, or there's 100,000 of us, you cannot win, right? You're just gonna walk up in there and take whatever you want from whomever you want, and that's what video games are about. But anyway, enthusiastically and lucidly appropriated by the masses. Let's go over the front line against hunger and darkness. Yeah, so basically it's like, so this was actually important. The work of the masses, their determination, scourge, blah, blah, blah. There is a kind of collective endeavor, a common destiny among the undeveloped people. The people of the third world are not interested in news about. So it's not about the bourgeois news, but about news about Argentina or Burma, their fight against illiteracy or dictatorship. So yeah, make sure you guys, that's why I said, that's why I included the brother in the book of Power. I keep talking about him, but he's in some country in Grenada. He's in Grenada. This guy, he really builds up the literacy of his people. He really, a lot of the socialists, for what it's worth, they do have some good things to them. This is the kind of stuff that you want to big up, but you also have to realize their flaws. Like realistically speaking, this president of Grenada did not have a standing army. And so America just comes in with a few soldiers and takes it over. Undeveloped country was commonly...
Talk about Maurice Bishop?
Yeah, Maurice Bishop. This guy, Maurice Bishop. But yeah, Maurice Bishop, yeah.
Maurice, my bad.
Yeah, and Haiti did the same thing. See, you only know how to pronounce the Chinese words right. I'm starting to look at you funny, man. Anyway, but yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, we through, man. But they up, you know what I'm saying? Shit, Cardi B and all that, right?
Wow.
Right? Broke boys don't deserve. Anyway, but the thing is that, the same happened to Haiti, man. People talk about Haiti was taken over by the Americans. America sent 50 troops to Haiti. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a small number of, they were specialist military people, sure. But even in Haiti right now, you have a lot of mercenary groups, just running rampant, running wild. But because you don't have that standing army, so killing presidents, shit, like things that's unheard of, killing presidents and allegedly causing an earthquake. I mean, that's not even funny. That's not even something to joke about. I hate people saying that. I don't hate them, but like
they caused an earthquake. Are you serious?
Nah, I was just joking, man. It's just a joke. But yeah, I was saying people that say that stuff is kind of like wow. It's like damn well you want a tectonic plate. I mean, it's bad to joke about though. But yeah, all right. So I have to laugh about because it's terrible, man. I told people I saw somebody with like a broken leg, man. It ain't right.
That's horrible.
You said what?
That's horrible.
Yeah, like the build because they got buildings that like, like I tell you, I experienced an earthquake in New York and it was like it was scary, man. Like I don't usually get scared, man, but like when everything, I don't know, you ever experienced an earthquake?
A light tremor.
Yeah, you ever experienced like you see a whole house shake, like that shit's not like it's not comfortable because you just like, is this thing gonna fall on me? But like in Africa,
There's
like
nothing you can really do.
Exactly, but like that's what happened to them, man. A lot of people just like a piece of building fall on you the wrong way, and either you dead.
That's your life.
Yeah, exactly. Either you dead or like your body part is gone.
Yeah, you're maimed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's shit. It sucks, man. So that's what I said, man. I think African people should really get together and say, you know what? Let's sell Haiti some good houses.
So we do need engineering versus soldiers.
Ain't nobody said you don't need no engineers, man. Ain't nobody said you don't need no engineers, but it was just, engineers are very important. Yeah, but the whole thing is that he was saying you don't need soldiers.
Oh, okay.
So
what
it's
you
like,
gonna do?
You said what?
You gonna fight them with a book?
You're gonna build him a house, Taliban show up. Hey, no, don't kill me. I'll get you a house, man.
You gonna give him a stern talking to?
Exactly. Hey, you see, somebody started a petition saying, "Stop, Taliban, stop." On the real. It's like I don't know. The guy was like, I don't know who has to hear this, but you ain't gonna stop the Taliban with no damn petition.
They can read.
I mean, look, maybe I think they can read it. If they wrote it in Arabic, maybe you know what I'm saying.
In Arabic,
if they wrote it in Arabic, or they said the lost chapter of the Quran. But of course,
I saw a video.
You get a big show for that, huh?
I think I saw a video yesterday. It was Vice, and I think it was like a translator in Afghanistan. She asked them, "Will you guys have any rights for women for your your new government?" And they started laughing like, "Turn off the camera. What you doing?" I was like,
they really did? They really started laughing? Wait,
I find it. And so was
that a joke? Was it a parody, or was that like real?
No, bro, it was Vice.
I don't know if Vice is real though. Is it?
Nah, I think it was funny. I don't know. It was funny to me. Like he was like, "What kind of question is this? What do you think?"
He's like, "You don't see me, my beard and my hat. You really think I'm gonna give no women's right? Get the fuck out of here." All right. So Kofi says people always come with the point about marketing Jamaicans. Yeah, even though some AA celebrities was bleaching in the '90s, e.g. Diana Ross. Yeah, bleaching is big in America.
A lot of people act like bleaching was not prevalent in the U.S. Where do you think it started from, for crying out loud?
Yeah. Marcus Garvey was against bleaching in America. But I mean, I must admit though, what do you say?
No, I'm saying like people acting like U.S. man, none of all this stuff.
Yeah, like bleaching only happened in Jamaica or something. But like I will admit though that actually no. What's weird is that all right. So the first time I saw spin bleaching cream, I did go into like one of them African stores. But
no, I won't lie about it.
But I will say this though, I didn't know this. Macy's and them sell bleaching cream. You know?
What they call like skin lightening or like blemish reducing.
It's wild because I didn't know that white people sold it. But like in America, I didn't know that white people sold it. But yeah, I guess like I think spin bleaching is actually pretty popular, but it's not really talked about. I think in Jamaica they just talk about it. It's kind of like like gangster stuff ain't really like like everywhere does it, but like they talk about it in America. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like skin bleaching, everybody does it, but they talk about it. Or like grinding up on a woman, everybody does it, but they talk about it in Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? The learning curve with the revolutionary matron says Carthage was destroyed because it had no standing army. Exactly, right? I mean, Carthage had an army, but once your army is defeated, you're at the mercy of your enemy. It's like Afghanistan had an army, but yeah, they wasn't gonna win, so they just surrendered. They gave up, And you know, it's sad. It's not sad, but you know, there's some people who are like, hey, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like there's like a female mayor in some town, and she's like, shit, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just waiting in my house for these people to come and kill me. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's depressing.
I mean, look, I don't know if they're gonna kill her, because like the thing is this: that when you take over a town, it's not necessarily the case that they're just gonna kill everybody. Because like I said, some of them is just chilling and taking over. Like some of them are just chilling in you know, in a go-kart area. But like other than them trying to take over the airport now, I saw a video of them shooting at the airport, so on and so forth. But like that's the world, you know. Like I said, it's not who is right. But I like that line. I don't know why y'all don't like that line. But it's not who is right, but who is left. Who's left after the war is over? The Taliban are. You know, the female mayor, she might be left if she could go along with them. But if she can't, you know. And, you know, she could ask, hey, you know, because they're going to capture her possibly and be like, hey, what should we do? And, you know, like, it might be that they just kill her. It might be that they let her go. You know? We don't know, but the person but we know who's going to decide. And it's them. It ain't her. You know? Per se. But anyway, the nation deserts the false glitter of the capital and take refuge. The living expression of the nation, the collective consciousness, blah blah blah. Tribalism. But yeah, you guys get it. So I mean, if anything, I'll say that this was just like a mouthful. If you you probably just read it. You know, read it when you can, or if you understood it the first time I read it, that's fine too. I'm gonna have to go look for some evidence to the wild claims of PC. Do my homework, you know. But hopefully, I'll probably share you guys the evidence later. But the evidence is not the case that the lack of economy, the lack of political sovereignty for African Americans is equal to the lack of political sovereignty for Africans on the continent, because what Fanon is actually detailing in this book is how they did have political sovereignty and how they did have economic sovereignty. You know, the thing is that again, you know, it's more so the case of what happens to lower management when upper management leaves. You know, and if a lower management takes over for upper management, then it's going to be equally as bad for the employees or the workers of that organization. However, that's not to say that they don't have sovereignty or autonomy. It just means that they made a bad choice, you know? And it also means that they can make a better choice. But you know, talking about African people on the continent do not own resources, as opposed to in the same way that African Americans don't own resources. It's like, what resources do African Americans possibly have?
It's like that Spider-Man meme, two Spider-Men pointing at each other.
Yeah, but it's like what resources? You know, because it's like there's no like what wow. like you know what I mean? Like what is it? What exactly are we sitting on in America?
WAP.
Huh?
WAP.
You said what? What?
WAP.
WAP? Whoa, boy. Whoa, what the? Whoa, okay, that was wild. I'm going through my head like, this is some sort of wood or some sort of I guess it's some kind of wood, right? I mean, I guess they could make some kind of wood, but no. No, but I'm like we don't have timber fields. We don't have iron ore. We don't have cobalt.
We got black Twitter.
Yeah, it's like there's no real resource that, like, you can't really compare it to, oh, Nigeria has a bunch of oil. Now, you could say, hey, Nigerians are not distributing the oil wealth to the people. Sure, but you can't say they don't have oil. You know what I mean? Or you can't say that they're not selling their oil, because everybody knows that Nigeria is selling their oil. It's not. It's a different comparison altogether. But other than that, I'm going to say thank you, family, for joining me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for reading. Make sure you guys jot some likes. Also, like I said, I put up the video earlier, so make sure you check it out. Check it out, this Garvey video. I was thinking about streaming it, but, you know, I know it ain't that serious. All right, for y'all. I got to watch it, though. I'm not going to cap. So
be careful.
You said what?
So you better be careful.
Oh, I don't mean like streaming it on live. I meant like just streaming it in Discord. But
well, I'm saying, like, because, you know, somebody might come in and start talking about that ADO stuff.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I was waiting, right. But anyway, but other than that, though, family, thank you so much, and of course, Shamim Otep, Akuja, Saneb Neb, Amen, My Dua Nature. And peace, Melanin 100%. Melanin 100% says.
I'm gonna say